want the tampon to hurt. What is she wearing? How does she act? My wing eyeliner? Oh my god. Your period's gonna go everywhere. Hi girls, welcome back to another TMI Girl Talk video where I answer all the uncomfortable girl talk questions you're too afraid to ask your friends or your mom. And today is going to be a good video because you guys sent in some juicy questions. If you're new here, I'm Charlize Chu, your designated older sister, and I also make content on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, so make sure to check me out on there as well. This first question is so important. How are you going to become a baddie? And this is going to sound crazy, but I need you girls to start meditating. And I think when people hear meditating, they assume that you have to be someone that's so spiritual and you're just thinking about nothing. But when I'm talking about meditating, this means that you are just sitting there closing your eyes and tapping into that baddie self. Imagine what your baddie self would look like. What is she wearing? How does she act? How does she treat herself? And how does she treat other people? Because we all have a different version of what a baddie is. Like for me, a baddie is someone who is classy and elegant and clean. Have you ever questioned your sexuality? Yes, I have, and I feel like it's very common for girls. I really questioned it when I was living back home in Missouri. I was a minority, okay? There weren't a lot of other Asians in Missouri, so I really didn't meet any guys that I felt like I really was attracted to and connected with. So then I started thinking like, oh, maybe I'm for the girls because the girls here are nice, the girls here are pretty. I've never done anything with a girl, and then when I went to New York, I met a lot more people who seemed my type, and I only ever dated guys. And I would say now that I feel like I'm pretty straight, but yeah, I definitely questioned it in Missouri. Thoughts on friends with benefits? I think friends with benefits is fine as long as you feel empowered during it, you feel like you are respected during it, and you don't feel like you are like breaking your own heart. Because sometimes we partake in friends with benefits when we actually just are trying to like fill a void or we are actually lonely. I thought that I was fine with hookup culture, but in reality, when I look back on it, I was never fine with hookup culture. I was just really lonely. Even if you decide to try it out, you really need to reflect on how you feel afterwards, because if you don't feel good, then you shouldn't be doing it. But otherwise, everybody is in a different stage of their life and everybody has their own preferences, so I don't think friends with benefits is a bad thing or a wrong thing. How not to be awkward with your crush? I say this to everybody: with any feelings that we have, you can't just not feel those feelings. So if you're feeling awkward or you're anxious, there's no stopping it. What you can do is acknowledge that you feel this way and figure out how to move past this in a more empowering way. So the next time you're talking with your crush and you feel awkward or anxious, I want you to really acknowledge and forgive yourself for feeling this way, because it's so valid. I mean, we all feel this way whenever we like anyone, because it's honestly not embarrassing or even noticeable when you're awkward if you do not react to it, if you do not let it overtake you. Is it normal for your parents to hate makeup, and what do I do about it? I think it's very normal. I mean, my mom growing up hated when I wore makeup. She did not allow me to wear makeup at all, not even in high school. They really just didn't like it because they wanted me to focus on schoolwork. I personally would wear makeup to school and I would just wipe it off before I got home, which I do not recommend. It's a lot of work. I'm kind of glad that I didn't wear makeup in high school though, because my makeup skills were so bad, I would have completely embarrassed myself. I remember when I started practicing makeup during COVID, like my wing eyeliner, oh my god. So honestly, my mom kind of saved me with that one. How do I put in a tampon? I know this is really hard. I personally do not like wearing tampons. I don't know if you girls heard, but tampons are not the best for you either. They just did a research where they found a lot of toxic chemicals and metals in tampons. Tampons can cause toxic shock syndrome, which really scared me ever since I saw those stories. I do wear them from time to time if I'm going swimming. I remember when I first tried to put in a tampon, I was so stressed out and I could not get it in. I would literally cry because I was just like annoyed. So make sure you are relaxed. And I know it's kind of hard to feel relaxed, but if it's not going in because you're stressed, don't pressure it, don't force it, because it's only going to hurt. The best way to do it is when you are sitting on your toilet, so your legs are like kind of spread. Obviously, like if you're putting in for the first time, it's going to feel discomfort, but overall it should not hurt. And if you feel like it is a little bit painful, it's painful to sit, or you could feel the tampon sliding down over time, that means you did not put it in correctly. You do not want the tampon to hurt. Oh my gosh, I remember where I would just kind of like put it in during high school and it would hurt so bad when I would like sit down and walk around, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just me. And sometimes when you don't put it in right, it's not going to absorb your period, so your period is gonna go everywhere. One time I put a tampon in and I was sitting down in a yellow chair at school, and the blood went all over my yellow chair and everybody could see it, and the chair was orange when I got up. Something I also like to do as someone with heavy flow is I like to put a panty liner under my tampon to really get that extra protection. Also, make sure you are not keeping that tampon in there for a long time, okay? 3 hours max. What do I do if I get my period and my teacher won't let me use the bathroom? Literally call them out. Like, I'm sorry, I understand maybe there's some safety measures as to why sometimes teachers can't let you use the bathroom, but like, when we gotta go, we gotta go. I was put in a situation, I used to do volleyball, and I remember we were in a tournament, and right before the tournament, we had time to go to the bathroom. So me and the girls, we go to the bathroom while one girl finds out that she got her period. So I go to my bag, get her a tampon so she can go to the bathroom and put it in. But our coach, who was a male by the way, was like, "Ladies, no, I already let you guys use the bathroom, like stop, you can't go." And I literally turned to him and I was like, "She's on her period, you wouldn't know." And then we just went to the bathroom. If it's an emergency and you got your period, like, you just have to say it, because the teacher is not going to understand or know unless you tell them. And I'm sorry, but what is more of an issue? Me missing 5 minutes of you trying to teach me the Pythagorean theorem, or me getting blood all over this chair? Is sleeping with no underwear better for you as a girl? I'm pretty sure it is. I rarely ever sleep with underwear on. You definitely need to give your kitty time to breathe. It helps with better like air circulation and make sure it smells probably not bad. There's no buildup, there's no bacteria, no infection going on. I mean, I really don't see why it would be bad for you too. Have you ever stayed in a relationship or a situationship just because you were scared to be alone? That is a good question. You're getting deep. I don't have a fear of being alone. I just get way too attached to people, and I have a fear of them leaving me just because I have like abandonment issues. I was one of those kids that when my parents would drop me off to school, I would literally cry and grab onto them because I didn't want them to leave me. In my relationships, I sometimes would stay just because I didn't want to be abandoned. I was the one holding on and trying to make things work because of the fear of them leaving me. And the way I was able to learn to detach from people was, instead of just focusing on the other person and what they thought, I really had to start prioritizing myself and my own respect. Because a lot of times these attachments relied on a validation from someone. But I do understand people's fear of being alone, so I would say like take small steps to start really enjoying your own company. Maybe that is taking yourself out on a little solo date once in a while, or just sitting in your room doing nothing. Like literally just stay in your thoughts, because a lot of people have trouble staying in their own thoughts, which is why it's so hard for them to be alone. How can I know to trust my friends? I was just having a conversation with someone about this the other day. You cannot know. Your friends can say one thing and you'll never know if they're being genuine or not. All you can really do is trust them. And I don't mean to just trust everyone, but really observe their actions, how they treat you, how they treat other people. Do they ever talk about other people? I mean, do you ever feel like they're being sus? If you are around people who make you question their loyalty constantly, and even if you bring it up, they still continue to make you question it, you really need to honor those feelings and acknowledge that maybe these are friends that you can't trust because your gut is telling you. Healthy relationship advice? You guys know I love relationship advice, and I have so much healthy dating tips for you guys. I mean, I'm with my boyfriend Junie, who is the securest partner ever, and I started the relationship out with him being an anxious attachment. And now I just talked to my therapist, by the way, today, and she was like, "Charlize, I think you have finally reached the level of secure attachment." And the way I've been able to become more secure is kind of the same answer I have as to the way I was able to detach. Focus on myself and prioritize myself, even when I'm in my relationship. So whenever a problem would come up in my last relationship, I would just let the anxiety fill me and wait for this person to give me a solution. So now, whenever something bothers me, I make sure to say it as soon as possible so we can figure it out right away, because I acknowledge that I am not an annoying girlfriend for speaking up for what I want, because we all deserve to be able to say how we feel. And a lot of relationships fail because people do not know how to problem solve and communicate correctly. Rather than accusing my partner and saying, "I feel like you are like this," or "you are doing this and it's making me upset," I say that I feel personally insecure, I feel disempowered, or I feel very upset because I perceived this, rather than saying, "Oh, because you are this." And then you end it with, "I need this," because a lot of us, when we have an issue, we expect the solution to just magically appear. So if you are upset, you need to come up with your own solution. And it's your partner's job to try to be understanding and listening, and also vocalize realize what they need as well. How do you heal your relationship with food? I am someone who had a terrible relationship with food at one point. Trigger warning to anyone, but I would spend a lot of my college just not eating my meals. I also had a very bad binge eating problem at one point where I would just eat everything in my cabinet. I've literally eaten an entire cake by myself before. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I have fully healed my relationship with food because, you know, sometimes I do feel bad after eating like a lot in a day. But when it comes to the actual eating part of that and making sure that I am fueling my body, I have been able to heal that. I make sure I eat 3 meals a day, and I sometimes even eat dessert. I would say actually most nights I have a sweet treat. Not focusing so much on why I feel like I should eat less and focusing on why I need to eat, period. Instead of focusing so much on weight and appearance, you really need to look at food as literally something that is going to save your life. When I restricted my meals, I literally was so weak, mentally not okay. I was just always so upset. I was always insecure. My skin was so dull, so was my hair, because I wasn't having any like vitamins or nutrients to give my skin and hair that energy. And when I focus on this health mindset, it made me realize how important whole foods are, because if you want to feel good after eating, you need to make sure that you're eating foods that make you feel good. Because eating chips for breakfast, that's going to make you feel like crap. You're not going to want to continue eating after that. I also currently have a meal plan that I pay for every week, which obviously not everybody has the privilege of doing that, but as someone who is terrible at cooking and I hate cooking, I know that I won't do it, and if I don't do it, I'm not going to eat. Last question, how do you make yourself work harder when you least want to? When you do not want to work hard on something, it is yourself telling you that you're not passionate enough about it. So for me, like in school, I never liked to study hard. I never liked to do my homework. I mean, I still did it, but I didn't like it. And it was because I was never passionate about any of it. And maybe if in high school, instead of thinking, oh, I hate school, I hate homework, and reframe those thoughts into, I want to be a successful woman so I can do this, that might have motivated me to start working harder. Motivation is not going to last 100% of the time. You're not always going to be motivated all day and every day, but it's understanding your why and your purpose for why you're doing it. I used to bed rot all the time and didn't want to do anything most days of the week. And I think one of the best ways to start getting yourself onto a routine, to start being proactive, is setting a plan for yourself, setting a schedule. I like to use Notion a lot to create a schedule for myself. Kind of like what I talked about in the first question about how to become a baddie, you need to be able to picture it and see it in order to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's Girl Talk video. Don't forget to comment and let me know what topics you want me to talk about next week. Also, like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. I will see you guys next Saturday at the same time. Bye!